All right, guys, welcome back to Rex Arthur TV. This is the Rex Arthur Show. We're discussing where we discuss LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ perspective and an LGBTQ approach and a humanistic approach in an LGBTQ plus planet. And today we are going on with UDHR. It's a UDHR marathon, and we are now on lap 5. That is Article 5, the ban on torture. And no one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Let's now go to it. Now, ban of torture is there. So nobody should be tortured, nobody should be degraded, no one should be treated inhumanely. Now, that's what's been repeated in the International Covenant on Civil Rights and the Convention against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment, and the Convention on the Rights of the Child. I liked this one. No child shall be subjected to torture or other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. In its general comment number 8 of 2006, the Committee on the Rights of Children comments on the protection from corporal punishment and other cruel or degrading forms of punishment. So why I'm happy about that is they have banned corporal punishment for children. Of course, some countries in the world, especially colonial countries and in Africa, they don't like that. There was a debate one time in some country that corporal punishment should come back because they think it makes children, corporal punishment helps children to be disciplined. But it's not true. Do you know why they removed corporal punishment? This is what people need to understand. Corporal punishment is torture. You see, there are some people who will abuse disciplining a child and to inflict torture on them, because most of the times when a child has committed an offense or a wrong thing, there is no need to punish him corporally. Reason being, he has not committed violence. So because he has not committed violence, don't emit violence on him. You see, that's the problem of corporal punishment. And I know some people say it is Solomon's teaching, spare the rod, spoil the child. But that's where I depart from Solomon. You should not use a rod on a child simply because a child cannot use a rod on you. You see, he cannot be violent against you. So what you're supposed to do, find alternative means of disciplining a child. That's what happens. And that's what people should really understand about corporal punishment. It's that it is a torturous form of punishment and should not be allowed. Secondly, this not only applies to children, it also applies to prisoners. Prisoners have been, and remember, prisoners are also human beings. And because they are human beings, they have human rights. And when they have human rights, you are not supposed to torture a prisoner with corporal punishment. You know, there are some jurisdictions, the punishment includes you shall get the 60 lashes of the cane. Look at what happened in Malaysia. They caned the lesbians, 60 strips of the whip. That is wrong, thoroughly wrong. In fact, the problem is I'm having every time I'm discussing UDHR, it's not a legally binding document. So those women cannot take Malaysia to an international human rights court. There is no international we needed an international human rights court. I know Africa has African Human Rights Court, but we need an international human rights court so that you can take your country if it tortures you, if it goes against the UDHR. As we said at the end of this article series, we are going to see all the countries when they signed up to the UDHR. And then now you will know how to deal with your country. Those ladies needed to be compensated, because you cannot cane a lady or ladies who are exercising their privacy, their right to privacy. You cannot. This is wrong, and we do not support it. So, bad action, and it should be solved, because the problem we're having about states in the world, there are a lot of human rights violations. Rights violations are they're in violation of the UDHR. And the problem governments are facing is that because they are governments, they feel they can violate human rights of their citizens. It should not be so. And that's why we are advocating for an international human rights court, so that in case there are human rights violations by a government, the citizens are free to go and get compensation. You know, when you get compensation from the government will reduce on violating human rights. Yes. The government will reduce on violating human rights. People will not be, you wait and see. Give that government 30 years. They will change. Like most of the schools where corporal punishment has been banned. Of course, it has been an issue in countries like Kenya and Uganda, because they are feeling that when they banned corporal punishment, the banning of schools increased. So there is a group of teachers that is trying to rise up, and they are really trying to find a way of reviving corporal punishment, because to reduce the banning of schools. But they shouldn't. I've already told you the rationale. You cannot emit violence on a child, because he can't emit violence on you. So what is supposed to happen? Because let me tell you, if they dare do that, if they restore corporal punishment, these children will rise. It will be the end of the school system, because the children will rise, they'll be violent, and you'll find many children will be in juvenile prisons. And the prophecy of Lucky Dube will come to pass, that they don't build no schools anymore. All they build is prison. And that's what's going to happen, because instead of building schools, you will now be building prisons, because the children are so violent and destroying the property, and you want to restore violence. You know, they use the proverbs badly. Fire destroys fire, or fire deals with fire, and they do it on children. So they say, now you burnt the school, we're going to cane you and we'll teach you a lesson. So now it's it's a very sad case. So what I think is, there's a lot of, it's not a sad case. You see, I'm trying to be optimistic about life, even though there's chaos. What should happen is, the countries, the governments, and the schools should sit down and have a program to understand how to order society. Now, how do you order society, especially children, when it comes to discipline? Let the families know they have a duty to take care of their children. Secondly, the education system must be a system that is child friendly, that even the weakest child can be able to feel he loves school, because the education system is so child. Technology doing this. Imagine if you have schools where there is YouTube, everybody has a channel on YouTube to learn something, and their coursework is on the internet. My friend, you will have workaholics. They will not even think of banning their school, because the school is giving them the school has tablets, the school has computers. Which child will ban their house that has a TV? Children will only ban a house that has nothing but poverty. Yes. So even most of the schools that children ban are schools that are not doing their job in terms of management and taking care of children. They are supposed to take care of children very well, do their part, feed them properly, give them a good education, give them a nice environment. When you do that, there is no child who will ban his school. Even he loves it. I remember there were some children who even like the school more than home because of the environment. So sometimes children, what we're trying to tell school managers, do not blame child indiscipline on the lack of corporal punishment. Because I've already told you, corporal punishment doesn't work. Yes, it has been proven. This UDHR was not written, people think it was written by Westerners who maybe don't value corporal punishment. Let me tell you, if there's people who used corporal punishments, it was the white people. They also did it, especially Britain. It was the land of caning. If you read British law, ancient British law, especially the 19th century, there was so much corporal punishment. They even had 40 canes, the strips of the cane. It's written. Go and read the colonial laws. They used to cane prisoners. Yes. And because they also used to cane children. If you watch the movie of Winston Churchill was caned. And he was caned. It was very sad. And in England, caning was very common. And because it was a Christian society and they believed in Solomon saying, spare the rod and spoil the child. So if you don't want to spoil the child, cane him profusely. And that's what happened. And then you go to Black America, the whooping. And you see Black American parents were whipping their children because that's what they went. They were being whipped. Can you whip an? You see? That's what happened in slavery. They were whipping adults, whipping. So this whipping culture was spread to the Black American family, and they were whipping their children, caning them and making them very violent. This is why many of these Black Americans now, when they grow old, they are violent. And if they have marriages, there's domestic violence. It's high because they came from homes where they saw violence. So that's why we are saying corporal punishment. These people, when they wrote the UDHR and these other conventions, they are not writing from the sky. It is from research. They studied their societies. And as I told you, white societies were also very Christian. But they noticed something. The Christian culture really did not solve their problems. So they decided to change it and decided to be secular and more scientific. And they found out corporal punishment does not help. So this is what I'm encouraging African countries to do. When you find children are indisciplined, mass indiscipline, whereby they even ban property, it means they are not happy about the school management. So you'd rather focus on the school management. I know it is a lot of money. That's what happens. And this is why if you're to start up a school, please make sure it is well done. I would rather have very many small schools than have very, very, very few big schools that cannot be managed well. Because when you have big schools that cannot be managed well, then you will have the chaos that is happening of banning of schools because the school is poorly managed, rather than because the children are indisciplined. Children ban what they don't like. And to end this, to be a bit more religious, Ephesians chapter 6, that they say, children, obey your parents, for this is right, and it's the commandment of promise. They forget to read the next verse. It says, and fathers, do not expurgate your children. What does that mean? Do not provoke your children to anger. So teachers can provoke, because teachers are just fathers and mothers, they can provoke children to anger. So the writer of that passage in the Bible, that is Paul, he saw something in the society. Do you know he amended the 10 Commandments? Because the 10 Commandments does not say, fathers, do not expurgate your children. But Paul amended the commandment by saying, fathers, do not expurgate your children. Why did he do that? He did that because he saw a situation whereby children were fighting with their parents. And to solve, and I think he was an ancient psychologist, so he studied and noticed that I think what happens here is parents make their children very angry. They provoke them to anger, and that's what can lead them to disobey their parents. But if you are a friend of these children, believe you me, there is no child that will be angry with you. In fact, he'll even praise you, he'll protect you, because you are his friend and you're friendly to him. So we are very happy that the UDHR has dealt with this torture and this convention on the rights of the child. Yes, children also have rights, and the rights of persons with disabilities, and also prisoners. You remember Guantanamo Bay is known for the torture that was too much. Obama even wanted to close it because he is a person who values human rights. I used to call Obama the human rights president, international human rights president, because he was concerned of human rights violations all over the world. And I commend him and I congratulate him for his presidency, because he did a good job preserving human rights all over the world. That's why he won a Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, he deserved it. He stayed true to his word. I mean, he campaigned. His first campaign was close Guantanamo Bay. Yes, of course he didn't manage because it was bigger than that. You know why he couldn't do it? It's not him who started it. Yes, it's not him. And so the people came and told him, no, you don't know why we opened this place. So he really tried. He did his best. You know, if you look at Obama humanistically, he was a very young chap with an idea of a bright world. Even that's why he has the Obama Foundation now. Yes, because he has a vision and he wants to see a world where people live in peace. You know, this is the first president I have seen. Okay, Jimmy Carter is also the same, you know, who has really gone out of his way to try and enforce a political vision where young people are empowered, where women are empowered, where the LGBTQ persons are empowered, where all the minority groups are empowered. Go and read the Obama Foundation and see it is similar principles to the UDHR. Okay, guys, that's all I can talk about torture. You know, we can talk about torture forever, but that's what you need to know. The world should become more humanistic, and therefore be friends with the UDHR tenets.